Welcome everybody. I'm so glad that you're here. We're kind of shifting gears. I've been doing Mommy Tech TV yesterday and today. Really, really fun. Looking at lots of products and gadgets and gizmos from a women's perspective, and it's really nice to have women here, shaking it up and innovating and doing things and being in charge. So I want to introduce you to our panelists. I'm just going to do a brief bio and then they can tell you a little bit about themselves. Chrissy Watson right here is an intellectual property and new media lawyer. She's a blogger and entrepreneur. She's also a former federal prosecutor. I didn't know that.
Yes, I was.
She writes the new media law blog, Bloggy Law, and also the Outlaw Mom blog. So lots to share. And then we also have Alyssa Martina, who's here. She's the CEO of Memloom. And we're going to talk about being a momtrepreneur and what it takes to do this. So, Chrissy, do you want to start and just give us a little bio? Tell us about yourself and what you do.
Sure. I am a practicing intellectual property and new media attorney in the Silicon Valley. And that means that basically I counsel my clients on patents, trademarks, trade secrets, and helping them identify what kind of intellectual property they have, and then moving with them through the process to building and maintaining that portfolio. And I take clients all the way through, contractual disputes, infringement disputes, and I go all the way to full-blown trial. As Andrea mentioned, I'm also a blogger. I am a mom to 2 young kids, so I have a parenting and lifestyle blog at theoutlawmom.com, and I have a social media law blog, which is targeted towards brands and bloggers, kind of navigating the social media legal landscape, making it a little bit easier for you.
That's quite the varietal resume. Very nice. Alisa?
Thank you. So I'm also an attorney. I don't practice law. I teach at the University of Michigan Law School in a new program that Sam Zell has funded called ZEAL, and I teach entrepreneurial negotiations. So we take the law students through the whole gamut of the beginning, finding founders, all the way to hopefully the exit, successful exit, and we do mock negotiations throughout the course. I also teach at Gabelli School of Business at Fordham University in New York, and I teach all about entrepreneurship and about innovation. I happen to be an entrepreneur myself and a mom. I launched 25 years ago Metro Parent magazine and several other parenting publications, and I'm a parenting coach. And most recently, as of yesterday, we launched a company called Memloom. It's a digital storytelling platform. We're very excited about it. We understood a pain point that moms needed to tell their stories, and it's moving in such a rapid world, and the family table's disappearing. So we brought storytelling to the digital space.
Can you tell us a little bit about Memloom?
Yeah, it's very, very exciting. It's really about sharing your memories and telling your stories from big milestone events to small everyday moments. And it's really geared with the mom in mind, although we see other potential markets downstream. And it's really about helping moms tell their stories in a very fun, engaging way that's safe and secure. It's really a terrific website, and we're very excited about it. It's been getting great feedback.
Wonderful. Just because we've been chatting with you, tell me a little bit about how you came about being a momtrepreneur. I mean, what prompted you to want to do something on your own?
Well, so I was one of those people who went to law school after undergrad. I went to the University of Michigan, and it's like, of course you just go on to graduate school. My father and my mother were both professionals, and it was just the thing you did. And I woke up one day and I said, oh my God, I don't like being a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer. And I had in my DNA, my father, he's a surgeon, but he's also an entrepreneur. He passed away. And I had that DNA. I love starting companies, launching companies, ramping them up, sustaining them. There are all these different phases. It's just, I love it. And so I started 25 years ago a parenting publication, and we're one of the oldest regional parenting publications called Metro Parent. And then we launched Windsor Parent, and we launched a lifestyle magazine for African Americans. And I loved it, and I was raising my 2 young sons, who are now in their 20s. And now they're watching as adults the launch of a new company, and it's been a really, really great experience. And I think that there are many similarities to being a mom, being a mommy, and being an entrepreneur. A lot of crossover, which we can talk about.
Chrissy, do you want to tell us a little bit about what made you do what you're doing?
Well, I did have a moment like you did as well, where I thought, I don't want to be practicing the type of law that I'm practicing. I don't want to be at the law firm, and that came about obviously when I had my 2 young kids, and they were born really close together. They're only 4 and 5 now, So I took a little break, and that's what kind of got me more focused in on the entrepreneurial community in the Silicon Valley and the online content community. So a lot of mommy bloggers, parent bloggers, or just female bloggers in general. And so being able to find community was something that I really enjoyed. And so we started now the Morning Assembly, which is a group that I run that puts on educational content workshops for online content creators. And we partner with brands to sponsor those. And then just being able then recognizing that all of those women who were starting companies or parents who were starting companies, not having anyone to turn to for legal advice, I decided to branch out and expand my practice into having more clients that I could help out that were either just starting out or were bloggers or maybe couldn't afford a larger law firm.
And it's such an unknown world. There's so many legal questions. There's so many, you and I have chatted about this. Who owns your property? How can you protect your property? And not a lot of resources and places for people to go. So let's talk a little bit about that. How do bloggers protect what they've written?
Well, I think that some of you might know, some of you may not know, but so the second you write a song, you publish a blog post, you take a photograph, you own the copyright to that material. You own you own the copyright to that material. One of the things that I think that people don't understand, though, is if you don't register that copyright, if somebody uses your material, you can't sue them, which is ultimately what you probably want to do if you want to stop them from doing that. You also have rights in your logos, your slogans, the name of your product, the name of your blog, the name of your company. You have common law trademark rights in that. But again, if you don't register those rights, they can be a little bit meaningless if you're trying to carve a space out for yourself and keep other people out of your space.
Tell me a little bit about how people should protect themselves in terms of, if you see something that you've written or posted or a photo you've taken, we have this Creative Commons, and someone's using it in a way that you're not happy with. What should you do?
Well, even though I'm a lawyer, I don't advise hiring a lawyer right away and going full force against the person who's been using your work. You can always pick up the phone or send an email, and I think one of the best things to do is to tell them, please take that down, that's my material. Or perhaps there's a way you can work together, or you can license out your material to them, and that might actually be a way that you can expand your business and build your brand.
Okay, great. And then I wanted to ask you, Alisa, building your brand, really, really important. What kind of inner strength and traits does it take to build a brand of you?
Yeah, well, and I think that's interesting that you say that, Andrea, because I think there's building the brand of you, and then there's building the brand of your startup or your product, and they're different sometimes. There's a lot of crossover, and I think it takes a real laser sharp focus. I think it's very easy for any startup, and I think this is true even, as I said, about moms and about entrepreneurs, it's very easy to get into scope creep. So I think you have to really, really have a strong vision of what that brand is, and then be very true to it. Now, at the same time, I'm going to say that you want to be listening, and you want to always be gathering feedback, and that's something that I teach at Fordham, and that's something that we do at Memloom, and we've done at Metro Parent for years. If you're not listening, and this is, again, as a parent, you always want to be listening to your children. It's very important that you're listening to them and not just talking to them, as many parents do. And so you really want to be listening and responding carefully, not reacting, but responding. So on one hand, being very focused and keeping to that vision, and at the same time being very open to feedback that you're getting in the universe and modifying at the appropriate time.
Well, that's my question. How do you know when to let go of your vision and maybe veer off and course correct a little bit?
Well, and I think that's really a hard thing for entrepreneurs, and I think it's a hard thing for moms and dads, where how do you know when's the right time? And so I think you have to know when is it being amplified, and I need to be listening to the universe. I need to be listening to the feedback, to the customer, to the children, because there's something not right. And that's when what we call, of course, the pivot, and it's about being resilient. And when do I need to say, no, there's a lot of noise out there, but I really need to be true? And I think it's an innate sense that entrepreneurs have, that parents have, that you have to strike that balance. It's hard. It's a challenge.
Can anyone be an entrepreneur? Or is it really...
So I teach entrepreneurship. I believe
Can it be taught?
Everyone can learn it. It takes some skills. It takes some ability to be creative, to be resilient, to have fun, to be open, to be innovative, to be curious. I always tell my students, this is interesting, I always ask my students at the beginning of the semester, these are my undergrads at Fordham, how curious are you? And everybody raises their hand. And when I ask it at the end of the semester, they realize curiosity it's not easy to be curious. It's easy to say you're curious. It's not easy to be curious. But if you're open to listening and open to observing and watching and asking good questions, I think anyone can be an entrepreneur.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, I do too, but I definitely agree. You have to have a passion for something. And that's what I think that separates somebody who's going to be an entrepreneur, who's going to be successful with their startup, is you have to have that vision. And it's sort of, you live it, you breathe it, you die by it. And without that, I think that you're not likely to be successful.
And I think there's a similarity, again, between being a mommy, and being an entrepreneur, and that's that, it's relentless. You're always on. You don't get time off. It's hard work, and it's challenging, and that's okay, but you have to be prepared for it. It's not a day at the beach.
And what an amazing thing you're teaching your kids.
Well,
Both of you.
it's funny. I used to write for the Detroit News. We're based in Detroit. And I always say, the big thing is about modeling the way. And I really think that if you're an entrepreneur, you're doing it right within reason, you are teaching your kids such great skills. You're teaching them about resilience and perseverance and being open and having that vision and being focused. And I think it's a great learning ground. And it's great to see my kids now, as young grown men, really, really understand many of those principles that hopefully I modeled the way for them. As a momtrepreneur. And
your kids are younger, so how is that working?
Well, I think the modeling starts at a young age because my daughter, who's going to turn 5 this month, one day she said, when I grow up, I don't want to be, and her list of things that she wanted to be, a firefighter, a doctor, a lawyer, all the different things. And then she said, because I changed my mind, I want to be a mommy. And then I said, okay, maybe I'm not modeling this correctly, but mommies can have more than one job. They can have several, their mom, they can have a variety of other jobs. So finally, I asked her recently what she wanted to be. So she said, I want to be a mommy, a lawyer, and a blogger.
Oh, awesome.
That's
and a blogger.
Yeah.
And a blogger. I think I've seen my sons model the way. My older son's in wireless spectrum. He's an attorney in the wireless spectrum space in Washington, D.C. He works for Sprint. And even though he works for a large corporation, he's very entrepreneurial in his thinking. And my younger son, who's in New York City and is in finance, also he works at a hedge fund. But I think it's about having that entrepreneurial mindset. And it's how you cultivate that in your children and how you cultivate it in yourself. And that's really what drives the difference between great people who work at corporations or other places and entrepreneurs. It's about having that it's a very different mindset.
Yep. Okay, you ladies are so filled with good information. I want to see if there's any questions from the floor. Any questions for Chrissy or Alisa? Someone's got a burning desire to be an entrepreneur out there.
Questions? And also, if you have a really burning desire, Memloom prepared some great tips, as did Chrissy,
Yes.
and they'll both be on mommytechsummit.com, where you can download them, and you can also watch them on Mommy Tech TV, where they both appeared yesterday. So questions, thoughts? We switch from kids to moms to entrepreneurs. Anybody see any connections here? I got one. Okay. Got a connector?
I just have a really simple question for you guys. Obviously, really diverse career set, having kids, starting your own company. So what's your process for prioritization in the grand scheme of everything that's on your plate?
Good question.
That's such a great question. So, I will just say, and Chrissy, I'm sure you have your own thoughts on this too. I think, again, a great similarity between entrepreneurs and moms. It's all about priorities and it's about allocation of resources. We're always talking about that in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and it's really true about moms too. And I'm not the most organized person in the world. I wish I was more organized, but I'm all about setting goals and trying to figure out what's at the top of the list each day, what's at the top of the list each week, what's at the top of the list each month. And I do that for my company at Memloom. I have a team of about 12 of us, and everybody can be very shotgun. We have a team in New York, a team in Ann Arbor, Michigan, a team in Detroit. It's very easy for us to lose focus. So it's really about articulating those priorities. And I also, I used to be a parent coach, and I always say to my parents, it's about articulating your priorities as a parent. What do you want for your children? It's one thing to say, spank your kid. We do not hit when your kid's hitting your parent, their sibling. If you're not really cognizant of what your priorities are as a parent, you need to step back and really focus on that. And it's not just a January experience. It's something that you do in coaching all the time. Priorities and resource allocation, very important. Thank you for asking that in both ecosystems.
Do you want to answer?
Yeah, well, I would just add that I think like being a mom or a parent and being an entrepreneur are two very similar things in that you want to control all of it, and you have to figure out at what point the effort that I'm putting in, I'm not getting any return. So I can be staying up till 3, 4 in the morning working on the business side, not my law side. Then I have to take care of my kids, send them off to school, then go do the law practice. So at some point you need to be able to delegate it all out and figure out, okay, I need to reshuffle the priorities.
Anyone else while we're here? Okay, Chrissy and Alisa, thank you so much
Thank you
for
all so
sharing
very
your
much.
wonderful
This was a lot of
information.
fun.